Morfydd Clark, Charlie Vickers, you play Galadriel and Sauron on Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Now, first off, your characters spent a lot of time together in season one, but are apart for most of season two. What was it like to finally have that confrontation in the finale?
It was fantastic because also our characters have been talking about each other's characters and
Yeah,
obsessing over each other
yeah,
for all this season, and it was a wonderful kind of climax to that.
yeah.
And it was amazing for me to be back with Charlie, but him giving a completely different performance.
Mm.
It was really exciting for me as an actor to be able to kind of see this craft of Charlie's, that he was so transformed. I could barely recognize him, and
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined that kind of he could play. Charlie's such a lovely person that it was really quite incredible for me to be frightened of him. Um, yeah, so that was great.
I think, yeah, and I mean, it's the same for me because we had worked so closely together for the whole of the first season, which was like 2 years. And then we filmed the second season for, I don't know, 8, 10 months, something like that, and
Yeah.
not cross paths a little bit to finally be
Mm.
able to share some considerable time together working on that sequence and then a lot of rehearsal in the lead up.
Yeah.
It was a joy. It was a joy.
And Charlie, you are playing quite a different manifestation of Sauron in season two. This Annatar, who is manipulating Celebrimbor. Was it like playing a completely different character, or do you try to find some kind of essence of Sauron to keep that continuity?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, to be honest. It was like playing a different character in terms of all the work that I did to make him different, appear different on the outside. But I think all of that had to be linked to everything that I linked Halbrand to internally, in terms of what his whole view on the world is and what he seeks and what he's trying to
Mm.
do. All of that had to make sense with what I did with Halbrand in the same way that it had to make sense with Annatar. I couldn't fall into the trap of making decisions to be different without any connection to who the character really is.
Mm.
So everything was kind of um, rooted in all the stuff that Halbrand was rooted
Yeah. I think he's done such an amazing job of it. I think it's amazing to have a character, to be able to play one character, which Halbrand is, which has a lot of warmth to him. I think that's why people fell in love with him. And then to be able to kind of strip that away because there was such coldness to your Annatar, something
in.
kind of cat-like.
Yeah,
Um, and it was amazing to
serpenty
watch.
cat.
Yeah.
Well, cats and serpents are very different, aren't they? To be honest.
I know what you mean though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a snake cat.
That's like, yeah.
Sorry.
Morpeth, a lot of your storyline focused on Galadriel coming to terms with being manipulated by Sauron,
Mhm.
and how that especially affects her friendship with Elrond. What did you think of her having her confidence so shaken after, season one? She's so sure of herself and what she believes and what is happening and what she's trying to warn everybody about.
Yeah, I just love playing an elf because it's so fascinating. Because I think these moments as human beings in our short little lives, those moments when we have to really learn something about ourselves or realize that we've done something wrong,
Mhm.
is so intense. And kind of, but if you've been thinking that you kind of knew the way for 1,000 years, that kind of is amplified tenfold. And it really is kind of a shaking of her sense of self, but also kind of her sense of the whole of Middle Earth because she is such a part of it. She is so entwined with Middle Earth as a place. And it was really fun because it was such a contrast to season one, where she was so strident and felt that she knew best. And it was also really, I loved kind of exploring this kind of really um, intense platonic relationship that she has with Elrond. Um, they are kind of so entwined and they're at such odds. Um, and a friendship breakup's just awful, but particularly for elves. Yes, it was really fun.
And production moved from New Zealand to the UK in season two. How big of a change is that for the two of you as actors? Like, was there a lot of adjustment?
Less time at the beach,
Yeah.
which is a bit sad. um, it kind of was interesting in terms of going into season two, where kind of um, Middle Earth is quite altered because of Sauron coming back, and we were in a on the other side of the world,
Yeah.
and so um,
I never thought about it like that. That's a good
yeah,
point.
There's this Welsh phrase called hiraeth about kind of longing for a world that kind of possibly never even quite existed. And sometimes our time in New Zealand feels like that because it was so marvelous and wonderful in every way. It pulls on me, and that was quite useful.
Yeah, the memory of it is amazing. And it is like, yeah, Middle Earth at another time. Creatively, for me, it had positives and negatives. I mean, it was a very different experience coming back to England where I felt I could separate my work life as an actor in England much more than I could in New Zealand because, New Zealand, for contemporary purposes, is Middle Earth, right? Like the people that we were there that were looking after us kind of have been the custodians of Middle Earth for decades, quite literally. There were people working on our show that worked on all the films and have been, creatively involved in the world forever. And then to come to England with equally amazing crews, but I felt like I could return home to my family and go back to normal life when I wasn't at work, which as an actor, I actually find really helpful, really, really helpful to just kind of try and forget about work when you're not there because it is the most all-encompassing job possible because you're just there for so long and so many days with all the makeup and everything.
And you were playing quite a evil manifestation of Sauron, so I can imagine that was quite nice to step away from that. But no, when we're filming it, it is kind of our time in New Zealand and our time filming it here, just huge parts of my life now because nothing else exists but Middle Earth when you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most powerful aspects of the second season is the Celebrimbor storyline. This incredibly heartbreaking arc of his hubris, his manipulation. And of course, Charlie, you spend the most time with him manipulating him. Like, how do you two reflect on that storyline and seeing that side of that character and of course that performance by Charles Edwards that I think was really outstanding.
Yeah. It was, I mean, Charlie's, I've been hugely lucky that basically, which I think is quite unique, that I've done 2 seasons of this massive show, and each of them have just basically been with another actor that's spectacular. Morfydd in the first season, and then Charlie in the second season. Just like a whole bunch of two-hander scenes is all I've done. And it's been an absolute joy. There was a moment when Charlie and I watched the first time we saw episode 8 was a screening in New York. And he was sitting in front of me and we watched the scene where I kill him and he just turned around to me and we just looked at each other and we were just like, yeah, that we've done it. It was such a amazing experience because it was the two of us working very closely together on a single set for months and months and months. And I mean, we didn't know what we were doing in like we each put so much work into it, but then you just rock up and you do something. And I think you just have to hope that your understanding of the world shows. And again, it was like working with Morfydd in that the chemistry is kind of just comes really naturally. And I think it's a testament to the showrunners and the casting people that they've cast really good people.
Yeah, we were so lucky to have Charlie Edwards in the show. Like he's just a stellar actor. He's got this incredible careers and so much stage. And I think that kind of managing to kind of bring this character that has such a sense of magic to him and kind of otherness, also creating something that's so easy for us as kind of humans to relate to. I mean, there's such duality to his performance, and
he has a real essence of just kind of mischief, which I think creates.
So twinkly.
Twinkly is the word. And he brings this level of calmness and sort of he's incredibly meticulously prepared, but he brings a levity and a lightness to the work in that even though we're doing really dark, really intense scenes, you call cut and he lifts the room around him because he is so just of the way he is, this effervescence.
Yeah.
Sound like a soft drink like that.
Now, of course, your characters are, in such dramatic places by the end of the season. Is there anything you guys can tell us about a potential season 3? Like, do you know what the status is of that and where you guys might be going?
I mean, in terms of, I know that the guys are writing and they're working really hard on the third season, and I was talking to Patrick about it before. There's nothing beyond that. We don't know genuinely any specifics about dates or like anything beyond the fact that they're working really hard and they can't wait to show it to us, basically. But I mean, I kind of know what I'm doing. I think I'm going to be going, I've got to make the One Ring. I've got to go to Numenor.
It's going to be busy.
Yeah.
But also everyone's going to be getting more powerful, kind of. There's kind of this frightening aspect of kind of everything becoming more. And can Middle-earth kind of hold all that power?
Do you know what yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Do I know what I'm doing?
Do you know what you're doing?
I'm very excited to see where Galadriel goes, because I think she's at a big turning point. Where do you know she's on a journey to kind of the Galadriel of the Lady of Lothlorien that we kind of all know and love, and I'm just really excited to carry on that journey, because we started kind of with her as far away from that as we could make her.
Which I love. I love that. I love that choice, and it's, you can just see. You can see the whole. I mean, so far it's like you're watching a bell curve of like where she ends up, and I love like plotting her along the journey. She gets closer and closer to that.
And there are so many different storylines and characters on the show. Are there any who, you feel like you would love to work with, who you haven't had a chance to yet, or whose paths you'd like to cross with?
Well, I'd love to cross paths with Daniel Wayman.
Oh yeah.
I like that Tuffin.
Yeah. That's a good show.
Yeah.
It's hard for me because I've almost crossed paths with everyone. I hate to say it. Because I've been around so many different parts of the story. But yeah, Dan's character, I mean Gandalf, I haven't, and that would be really cool. And same with Tom Bombadil. But I feel like he's just pops up randomly. So you could cross paths with him anywhere.
I hope I cross paths with Tom Bombadil. I'm obsessed with him.
Actually, I'd quite like to meet Kemen.
What? You'll love Kemen.
I feel like Kemen's a big candidate for a ring. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your work on the show, and thank you so much for talking with me about it.
Oh, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.